Moving in slow motion, we're just floating, so wild and free, and it all makes sense.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Ro in Motion. My name is Ro, and today's topic is going to be about my transition from the Midwest to the Southwest. So I kind of want to talk about like what led me to leaving the Midwest, the fears I faced and the challenges I faced, and just kind of be an inspiration to you to let you know that if you are getting the inkling that you want to leave your environment, just to do it, don't wait. So I'll just start with last year. So last year I made one of the biggest decisions that I've ever made in my life, and that was to leave the Midwest and move somewhere else. What led to that decision, and I'll kind of start back in 2020, is COVID. So when COVID happened, like so many others, it really changed my life. It changed the trajectory of my life because I really had the time to sit down and really reevaluate myself as a person, the life that I was living at that time, and figure out like what I wanted to do in my future. During that time, just to give you some background, I just wasn't a happy person. Prior to that, I would complain a lot about work. I would complain about people. I would complain about my personal life. I was just a constant complainer and was very negative. And if somebody knows me in real life, they may be surprised at me saying that because I'm usually seen as someone that's a positive person. But I wasn't necessarily positive in my opinion. I definitely did a lot of complaining, but I also stayed in that same situation. So that was prior to COVID and a little bit in COVID too, to be honest with you. But once COVID happened, I had a chance to really think about like what I wanted. And I said what I wanted was a life where I live close to a job. I'm in a warm city. I didn't want anything to do with snow anymore. And I just wanted to be free. I wanted to be free to be who I am, to make my decisions, to live without worrying about judgment and trying to fit into this box that I felt like I never really fitted in. Like I just felt like I was just a robot and not really just being my true self. And I know people use the word authentic a lot, but I literally felt like I wasn't being my true authentic self, and I wanted to show up as me. So I got a therapist in 2021, and I've had therapy on and off since my 20s. But this time was different. When I got my therapist in 2021, I also got a life coach too at the same time. And both of those were women, and they were just awesome with helping me like navigate my life, digging deep on my past histories and kind of holding me accountable, saying like, you are the common denominator of making these decisions, and you need to make better decisions, and you need to figure out why you made the decisions you made. And some of those sessions were, happy moments, but a lot of those sessions I just cried, like just going through those emotions and getting those things out that I hadn't gotten out in decades. And so it was really a life changer getting with the right therapist and the right life coach for myself. They comforted me when I needed to be comforted, and then they held me accountable when I needed to be held accountable, and really pushed me to move my life forward and not stay stuck, which I felt like I was stuck for so long because I had started to say in my 20s that I wanted to leave. Like my late 20s, I wanted to leave Minnesota, but I never did leave because I was held there by family and circumstances that I created on my own that I didn't necessarily want. I wanted to be free, and I was not free in Minnesota. So with that being said, like I did the work again with the therapist and with the life coach of dissecting myself and holding myself accountable, and work just became to be unbearable. My personal life just became to be unbearable. The more work I did, the more I dissected, the more uneasy I felt. And it was hard to get up days. Like there were days where, it was just hard for me to get up moving, to go to work, to eat, to do whatever. And things would happen and it just became unbearable. And then one day something happened and I was just like, yeah, I'm done. I'm just done with this way that I'm living life. And so I put my notice in with my job and I just left. Well, I gave them a notice, and then I gave them a 30-day notice, which is more than we're required to do. We're only required to give 2 weeks. So anyway, I gave them a 30-day notice, and after that, I literally just slept for 30 days. Like I had a job offer, and I just let that job offer go because I was just exhausted from life. So I slept for 30 days, and then after that, I just kind of just started to build me up again. Like, again, still figuring out who I was, still thinking about where I wanted to go. I had an idea, but I hadn't made that happen for myself. I just needed a break from life and to focus on me, because for so long I hadn't focused on myself. It was always, look out for this person, this family member, and look out for that person, but it wasn't about me, and that literally drained me. When you don't put yourself first, it's just not good. Like, I highly recommend centering yourself. And I know a lot of people are talking about centering yourself, but you have to put yourself first and do what works for you. And people are going to be upset about that, especially when you're a people pleaser like I was, and still kind of am, but I'm working through that. I'm definitely way better than I was, but I had to stop caring about perception of other people and other people's feelings more than I cared about myself. And, I recognize how much work I did, because when I received messages from some people saying, well, you've hurt people because you left and you didn't tell people. And I say, they will be okay. This is not a life or death situation for them. They don't have to know this. It's not my responsibility. I don't owe anybody an explanation of anything. One of the things that happened during that time too is I lost my BFF, who I feel like, looking back at it now, we kind of bonded over trauma, is what I'm going to call it. We both had a certain situation in our life that was very similar, and we bonded over that. And we had a relationship, and then towards the end, we just kind of grew apart, to be honest with you. But we still kind of stayed together even though we grew apart. And the last thing that happened was like this, in my mind, a minor thing, but in her mind, it was a big thing, and I hurt her. And that's where the friendship basically broke, and we haven't spoken really since. And I recognized that, like, that friendship needed to end. Between work, my family, and the friends that I had at that time, like, I could not get to the new version of myself, because there was always somebody from my past trying to pull me back into that and remind me of certain things in the past. And why are you doing this? Why are you hurting people? Why are you leaving people behind? And at some point, I just had to change my number. I changed my number twice so I can get away from those old people. Because originally when I changed my number, I gave my number to a handful of people, but then those handful of people were still causing ruckus. So I had to change my number again so I can just be 100% clear of just everybody from the past. Because again, I couldn't move forward in the way that I wanted to move forward with those people in my ear, saying whatever they were saying. So I say all that is, I'm making it sound like it was easy, but this is really, again, since 2021, and I just made the change in 2025. So that's like 4 years of me working with a therapist, working with a life coach to really shift my life in a way that works for me. So I was literally driving around last year, and I was like, you know what? This is my last winter here. Like, I'm done. I am done with the winter. Like, I just don't want to be here anymore. Like, I've said this since I was 25, 26. It's time for me to go. And once I actually finally made the decision and I actually believed in it, the first job that I applied for after I said that out loud is the job that I ended up getting. And it was a long process, by the way, for the job that I currently have now. It was a lot of interviews, but I ended up getting that job, and then I started that job as well. And so did I have fear? Absolutely. Leaving everything behind, again, it's like, even though I was miserable, it was still comfort to me, because I know the city. My people are there, my friends are there, my family's there, everything's there for me. But at the same time, that was the most unhappiest I've ever been in my life, because that wasn't a place I was supposed to be in for long term, and it had turned into a long-term place for me to be in. So did I have fear? Absolutely, but I did it anyway. And I always say, if you have a fear of doing something, it's fine, have that fear, but do it anyway. I literally have never done this. I packed up my stuff myself. I've never packed my things up ever, myself personally. I've always had somebody to do it for me, but I packed up things myself. I put my stuff in the car and I drove myself down to Arizona. That's how dedicated I was to start my own life. I drove from Minnesota to Colorado and I stayed overnight, and then I drove from Colorado to Arizona. I got my new apartment. Did things happen? Well, one thing happened that I didn't think about. So my old apartment building that I lived in Minnesota, actually the last two apartment buildings, they did everything electronically. So I made the assumption that things were done electronically here, and they're not. I needed a physical check to move in, which I did not. I don't have physical checks. So that was a wrench that kind of got thrown in there. So I had to stop at a bank in Colorado that partnered with my bank and get a check and get that going. To bring down so I can move in on time. So I'm just letting you know that there are sometimes things that will happen that you may not be thinking about, that you need to prepare for, or that you can't prepare for because you're not thinking about. So make sure you're writing down questions and asking these apartment buildings certain questions, so you have the information that you need to make your transition as streamless as possible, or streamlined, I should say, as possible. But that's the only thing that happened. Oh, the other thing that happened too is you have to turn on your lights before you move in. Like my old apartment buildings, they automatically did all that stuff for us because it was included in the rent. So I had to call APS and get my lights turned on before I can move. And I was doing this stuff while driving to Colorado. So knowing what I know now, I would have asked those questions, and I know what questions to ask, but I wasn't frustrated. I was just calm, like, okay, girl, you know what you need to do. They just told you, so do it while you're on the road and get it done. So when you get to Arizona, you will have this stuff done and you can move in with no problems. And that's what I did. So I say this to say, if you have been getting the inkling that you need to start over, whether it's a job, whether it's moving away from family, friends, whatever, do it. Stop waiting. I waited from 25, 26 to over 40 to finally do it. And I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life right now. I'm happy with my job. I'm happy with my apartment. I'm happy with just my life in general. And I'm happy to explore and get to know like the new version of myself. And so I highly encourage you to do the same. Go apply for that new job. Go move to that new city. Make new friends. Don't be afraid to start over is the point. And don't let people, whether it's old friends, whether it's family, discourage you or tell you that, oh, you're different now, or, you know, you think you're better, or you've heard a lot of people for changing. We are supposed to change, and sometimes we change together and sometimes we change apart, and that is okay. And I changed apart and I left people where they are. There's no hard feelings. I still love everybody and I want everybody to be successful, but I had to do this on my own and be able to show up as who I am now and not have people from the past try to keep me in that certain, keep me with that certain personality that I just don't have anymore. So good luck on your journey, and let me know if you've changed your life, if you moved to a different place, if you started a new job, if you had to make new friends. How are you doing this stuff? Just tell me in the comment sections. Thanks so much and have a good day. I just want to capture the moment. This is my last day in Minnesota. I am moving to Arizona. I've gotten a new job and I'm so excited to start my new job, my new life. I worked so hard for this moment. It's literally probably like 16, 17, probably really almost 20 years in the making, and I'm finally doing it. I'm proud of you, girl. I'm really proud of you.